And yeah, just getting that Flutter Mane out of here feels like progress, although the Lunala is still extremely dangerous. The good news is... Alright, the good news was it took 45% from extreme speed with Shadow Shield intact. The bad news is... I don't have Rayquaza anymore. I don't know where it went, but it's not here. It's VGC Legends. It's the series where I spin a wheel, get a random legendary Pokemon, build a team with that Pokemon quickly, try that team out on the Regulation I ladder, and of course I do all that because I like legendary Pokemon and because speed building a bunch of teams makes for some fun situations and maybe teaches me something along the way. 25 episodes down, there still has not been a Generation 2 Pokemon picked by the wheel. If I keep saying this, eventually it'll happen. Let's see. What will it be? Not Gen 2, that's for sure. We've blown past that again. Is it Rayquaza? Back-to-back Gen 3. I was going to say we complete this trio, but no, Kyogre hasn't been picked yet. But in any case, it is Rayquaza. Pretty straightforward one, I guess. Okay, I said that Rayquaza is a straightforward one, and that's because there's one pretty obvious thing to do with it. Extreme Speed, Terra Normal, Normal, that's over here, pair with Chien-Pao. And then I don't know how that got there. It's basically like Dragonite in earlier formats, except it has a slightly higher base attack stat, it cancels weather, and it takes up a restricted slot. Throw in a Clear Amulet because it doesn't get Inner Focus, instead it gets Airlock to shut down weather, which could be valuable, I don't know. And then probably Swords Dance, Dragon Ascent, and Protect. Easy. I would move Swords Dance to the first slot, but I don't have to do that right now. There actually is more to be said though. Rayquaza has a special attack stat that's just as high as its attack, so you could run a surprise special Rayquaza, and especially in best of one. I guess Draco Meteor, Earth Power, Flamethrower. I guess Meteor Beam. I don't think I knew that, but it makes sense. Meteor Beam Rayquaza could be fun, actually. Power Herb, Meteor Beam Rayquaza. It gets Hurricane. Of course, there's no way to boost the accuracy because even if you set up Rain, it just won't work while Rayquaza's on the field. Rayquaza doesn't overwrite the weather with Airlock. Weather effects just don't exist while it's on the field, even if the weather otherwise exists. But I mean, it's got a pretty solid special move pool. I guess Dragon Cheer. But it's a Pokemon you want attacking. But the other reason to run Extreme Speed on it, and I do think that's probably what I'll be doing this video, is it only has base 95 speed. So I could do Power or Meteor Beam. That actually does sound fun, but how then do I get it to go quickly enough to actually do damage before getting knocked out itself, especially considering that it's not very bulky for a restricted Pokemon. So as appealing as that is, and I wouldn't mind trying it out sometime, I am definitely leaning Swords Dance Extreme Speed right now. But after no outside resources in the last part of this series, I am bringing them back in. First, here's the Top Cut Explorer for the Bologna special event. I don't think we're going to find Rayquaza in the top 256, but I'm down to check anyway, just to be sure. I guess restricted Pokemon go at the top, don't they? There was one Giratina, but no Rayquaza. Alright, let's try Santiago. No Rayquaza. Let's try Utrecht. Got Giratina Origin. We got Mewtwo, but no Rayquaza. And let's try Melbourne. No Rayquaza. Okay, not surprising. So Rayquaza is really not showing up in a good place in tournament results. Could check Reg G, but that doesn't feel like a good use of time. But I've also got Munch stats ready to go. And I know it's going to show up here. There are definitely enough people using it for that. Most common teammates are Chien-Pao, Incineroar, Rillaboom, Rapid Striker, Shifu, Shadow Rider, Calyrex. And then if not Shadow Rider, Calyrex, then the next most common restricted partner is Zamazenta. So that paints a pretty clear picture of how people are using this. And yeah, vast majority of sets use the 4 moves I identified earlier. Draco Meteor, honestly, I might have guessed would be higher than this, because it's a fun mix-up, right? Your opponent throws their physical Pokemon answers at you. You can surprise them with a Draco Meteor. I think that makes decent sense. I'm a little bit surprised it's only at about 3% usage. I didn't know Rayquaza gets Tailwind. I missed that when I was scrolling through because I was looking at special attacks. Fairy Amulet's the most common item. Life Orb, Choice Band. See some play. But I mean, yeah, it's pretty straightforward what this Pokemon wants to do. Watch this. Ready? Boom. And I think that's what it's going to be. Power Herb Meteor Beam is kind of funny, but Extreme Speed is Rayquaza's thing. Let's fix that move order, though. That's going to annoy me if I forget. There we go. Rayquaza, Chien-Pao. And then these are mostly built like a Chien-Pao Zamazenta team, but or a Shadow Rider Zamazenta team, but one of the restricteds is a Rayquaza instead. That feels like it's probably not very optimal, right? Because Shadow Rider and Zamazenta are both pretty important to those teams. But restricted Pokemon like, I guess if you go the Zamazenta route, excuse me, I'm recording this later than usual. I guess if you go the Zamazenta route, you're doing physical spam. You're going hard into physical spam. And if you go the Shadow Rider route, Shadow Rider makes sense because it helps to deal with Pokemon that block extreme speed, so ghost types mainly. I think Shadow Rider makes, independent of where this team ends up, I think Shadow Rider makes a lot of sense as a restricted partner. Of course, Chien-Pao can also help deal with ghost types, but it's pretty frail. Shadow Rider is as well, but it's nice to be able to double down. Let's pencil in a Shadow Rider Calyrex. And then, I mean, I absolutely can just do Rillaboom, Incineroar, or Urshifu. In fact, that feels very strong. Because Incineroar helps me deal with opposing Shadow Rider. Rillaboom and Urshifu help me deal with other possible answers to Extreme Speed spam. Farigiraf could be annoying for this kind of team. Some Farigiraf teams. The Farigiraf is usually run with Ice Rider and Miraidon. This feels like it has answers to Ice Rider and Miraidon if I fill this out. So I think this is going to end up looking pretty similar to the Latias team from last time, except that Urshifu makes the cut in this one, because Rayquaza is taking up one of the restricted slots, and that frees an unrestricted slot. And hey, Urshifu still gives me some kind of fighting type to work with, even with Zamazenta off the team. So I'm going to fill in the rest of this, but this one's a very straightforward build, and it is going to end up in some very familiar Shadow Rider Calyrex territory, except usually I have a Zamazenta with that. And this time, we're going to zoom faster. And stop opponent's weather, that could come in handy. Alright, so this should look pretty familiar, but it's speed building. Sometimes you just fall back on what you know. A lot of the pieces are basically the same as last video. Of course, there's no Tailwind this time. But I do like the Rillaboom and Incineroar fake-out duo to potentially create openings for Rayquaza to click Swords Dance. I also like the physical spam enabled by Chien-Pao with the Rillaboom and the Urshifu. Calyrex is left to carry the special offense for the team by itself, but it's one of the best Pokemon in the game. It should be able to do that. I did consider Specs Calyrex so that I have one restricted that sets up and one that just goes. But Life Orb Calyrex can still just go a lot of the time. I'm not really clicking Nasty Plot that often, and I think the flexibility of having Protect is very valuable here. So I have stuck with that, but I did think about Choice Specs. As for Urshifu, making its return to the core after I dropped it last time, I don't know what the most popular Urshifu set is these days. A lot of these are just my go-to sets on these Pokemon right now. I would like to have Focus Sash on the Calyrex, but it's already occupied by Chien-Pao. But I don't know what's popular on Rapid Strike Urshifu right now, but I've never yet become a Scarf Urshifu doubter ever since it took off in this generation. I still tend to think that's the best set, or at least the one that I'm the most comfortable with. And while this version of the team doesn't have Tailwind, with Chien-Pao priority, Rillaboom priority, Shadow Rider just being one of the fastest, actually being the fastest restricted Pokemon, Scarf Urshifu, and of course Rayquaza priority, I have a lot of speed control of a kind. So let's get in the ladder and see how it goes. It will, of course, play very differently from before because I don't have Zamazenta to sit on the field for long stretches of the game. Should be some quicker games with this version. First opponent has Shadow Rider, Terapagos, Iron Hands, GU, Smeargle, and Whimsicott. Smeargle really is everywhere right now. It's a bit of a hassle, but the good news is you can usually get a pretty good idea of what moves they're going to run. There are like 5 or 6 moves that pretty much all Smeargle run. And I think this one has Fake Out, Spore, Follow Me, and Decorate. That's probably the most common right now. And it fits this particular team very nicely. What to do about it is a tougher question. If I set up Sword Stance with Rayquaza, it becomes immune to or if I set up Sword Stance, if I Terrastalize, it becomes immune to Astral Barrage. But not Psychic. And I can't Extreme Speed Shadow Rider unless I make it Terrastalize. I don't know how to lead into this. If I had a Zamazenta, the lead would probably involve Zamazenta, but this is the Rayquaza video. Alright. I want Urshifu for sure. I want Incineroar. Do I want Incineroar? Yes. I actually think I can just lead with those two. And I'll bring Rayquaza and Chien-Pao. Leaving Calyrex behind feels a little questionable, but Calyrex is really bad into Terapagos, and it just loses to their Calyrex if they set up Tailwind, which they're not doing just yet. I'm actually surprised not to see either Whimsicott or Smeargle in a lead spot, but I'll take the opportunity to try to land an attack into their Calyrex, whatever it might be. They can only Fake Out one of my Pokemon. They can switch out, of course. They can Protect, but that'll only stop Incineroar, not Urshifu. Let's see. Alright, testy accounty. Let's see what you're testing. The Fake Out goes into Urshifu. What does the Calyrex go for? Psychic. Knocks out Urshifu. Knockoff comes back. Probably Sash Calyrex. Nope, Life Orb. Okay, so this'll... So they trade their Calyrex for my Urshifu. Under different I was going to say that feels not great because Urshifu is my best answer to Terapagos, but the rest of my team is not that bad into Terapagos. It's probably okay for me. Here's the Terapagos. I get Chien-Pao in. I don't know what item Terapagos is most likely to have on this kind of team. To be honest, I don't know. But I'm down to go for a Will-O-Wisp into Iron Hands and a Taunt into Terapagos. I like the Dua Lipa nickname theme. Somehow I fell into a habit of listening to Dua Lipa while I record footage for shorts, so now her songs are often in my head while I'm playing Showdown. It's just a mental association that I've built up. Missing the Will-O-Wisp there isn't ideal. Also, the Terapagos just attacked. It might be Specs Terapagos on this team. That would make sense with the Decorate Smeargle, but I didn't know. That's probably pretty standard right now. I think I just heard someone yelling. Not gonna worry about it just yet. I'm gonna try to preserve the Chien-Pao. I mean IRL, obviously. I think I just heard somebody yelling outside my apartment in real life, but seems to have stopped. Anyway, the reason I preserved Chien-Pao was to get Rayquaza in, but I don't think this is gonna work out for me. But hey, I've said that before and been wrong. Let's go for a Sword Stance. I think if I ever win this game, it involves a Sword Stance here. Go for Icicle Crash into Terapagos. Maybe I flinch it. Nope, GU knocks me out first, and then that's a single target Terra Star Storm. And that was a pretty quick one. Alright, GG. Hopefully the rest will be better than that. This is a poor start for Rayquaza. This person has a Volcarona, which is not what I like to see playing Rayquaza, because I have to worry about the Flame Body. It's not what I like to see playing physical spam, more broadly. How do you get Rayquaza set up in this format? Maybe I needed redirection. Maybe I needed my own Volcarona. This is Well, however many Rayquaza players there are, probably not many. Seems like a lot of them are playing teams like this. I don't know if I should have trusted the wisdom of the crowd. The other thing about Farigiraf is it shuts down extreme speed. But I'm just going to lead Rayquaza this time. Incineroar. Rillaboom. Now I need my Calyrex. Rayquaza. Champao. Calyrex, Rillaboom. I'm going to taunt Farigiraf because I don't want them to set Trick Room. And I guess if I want to switch Rillaboom in, that means it has to be in the Rayquaza slot. But yeah, so be it, I think. Miraidon will probably Volt Switch out. Maybe into Chanpao, break the sash. Nope. Oh, it went Terra Fairy immediately. Usually that means they're clicking Dazzling Gleam, but maybe they just wanted to better take a Sucker Punch this time. Anyway. Do deny the Trick Room for now, but at what cost? U-turn and switch to Rayquaza. But it is looking like it's going to be really hard today to find openings for Rayquaza in this format. The problem with U-turn there is, what am I bringing in? You know what? Maybe they clicked Will-O-Wisp into Rillaboom. Let's see. I hope it wasn't knockoff. Psychic and knockoff into Rayquaza. That's not great either. Protect and Swords Dance, I guess. But see, I'm just not finding good this format is so punishing. I'm just not finding good openings for Rayquaza. I don't know why they did that. Maybe it was a misclick. I'm just not finding good openings for Rayquaza to set up. Alright, I need to get this Farigiraf out of here. So I'm going to Terra Dark, cover for a knockoff, Psychic, and Dragon Ascent. Because I can't Extreme Speed Farigiraf thanks to its Armor Tail. That doesn't feel like enough damage. I also couldn't... Oh, it is enough damage. I also couldn't Astral Barrage it, of course, because it's a normal type. Okay, knockoff into Calyrex, but that's what the Terra was for. Rayquaza does have lower defenses now, because of course Dragon Ascent is a flying type close combat clone. But here, I'm just going to throw... I'm going to keep trying to deny the Trick Room, so I'm just going to Astral Barrage, and... Rayquaza will be faster, so I guess Dragon Ascent into their Calyrex, because that's stronger than Extreme Speed. Actually, I think I'd rather Extreme Speed so that Rayquaza goes first, and then Calyrex should get the KO and go to Grimnay boost. I think that's actually better. Here's the Astral Barrage. Yep, knocks out the Calyrex. We get +1 special attack. Incineroar removes that immediately, but hey, nice that I had it, huh? Now I'm not at -1. And I can just pivot Calyrex out here to Rillaboom to get rid of their terrain. I'll protect Rayquaza. It's still at +1 attack after the Intimidate. I don't want to just throw that away. Fake out into Rillaboom. Dazzling Gleam. I mean, I guess here I can just fake out Miraidon and Dragon Ascent it. Get the most damage I can while Rayquaza is still here. It's a lot of damage. And now, I don't have much to beat Incineroar. That's not true, I still have Rayquaza at +1 attack. I thought they would take the KO on Rayquaza there, but they didn't. I actually think there might be a way I could have lost to Incineroar if it had knocked out Rayquaza. It might have been more sound to fake out Miraidon and take the KO on Incineroar, and then Extreme Speed Miraidon, and then Astral Barrage it. In fact, that was definitely more sound. But it worked out. That's what I should have done. And we take the wins however we get them. Alright, Miraidon, Ice Rider, Incineroar, Iron Treads, Smeargle, Volcarona. Another Volcarona. And a Smeargle. So much possible status for them to throw at me. Let's just lead Rayquaza, Chanpao. Let's just bring these 4. Try to blast through. Might work. Sometimes it does. It's a 50-50, right? It works or it doesn't. That's what they say. I want to taunt this Ice Rider, but I don't want to get Glacial Lanced. I could Terra Normal. I can protect and taunt the Ice Rider. Might work. Protect and taunt the Ice Rider? No, I don't really see the line. We can Volt Switch, get Incineroar in. I don't think it works. Let's just attack and taunt Ice Rider. Or Water. Volt Switch into Chien-Pao. Yeah, I didn't do the Protect play there. So I was thinking Protect Rayquaza, taunt the Ice Rider, but then... And I can attack the Ice Rider after that, but... I still didn't really see how that helped me to break through Ice Rider, and also if they pivoted Incineroar in, like that, then they had Fake Out pressure on me the next turn. And so my Pokemon would be left kind of disjointed. Don't really prefer that outcome, though. So... Still not sure what the right play was, but I'm not sure. I don't think it was that. That said, what I can do here actually is I can fake out. They're going to have terrain control as soon as Miraidon comes back in. But I have a pretty free Astral Barrage into something if I just fake out the Incineroar here. They've already Terra'd, so even Terra Ghost Incineroar can avoid that. And Incineroar can click its own fake out, but it can't fake out Calyrex because it's Ghost type. And if it's clicking fake out, it's not clicking knockoff. So let's just Astral Barrage, fake out Incineroar. Yeah, they let me do that. That's good. I get some chip on Incineroar as well. It's still going to be hard to deal with. Calyrex gets a +1. There's their Miraidon. Of course, like I said, they have terrain control now. I think I just Terra Dark, Astral Barrage, and U-turn Miraidon. Unfortunately, I can't get real... They have Snarl. I'm seeing a lot more Snarl Miraidon lately. I don't know if it's a best of one tech or it's something people are cooking more seriously. But I never expect it. But I should start to expect it at this point because it's been popping up more often. That also outsped my Calyrex, so it's Scarf Snarl Miraidon. The good news is it's not going to do much damage. And I'll get the special attack right back here. Bad news is I think I just got knocked out by Incineroar. Yeah, they got Calyrex to -1 special attack, and that weakened it just enough that Incineroar could take the Astral Barrage. If not for the Snarl, I had 2 KOs there. I don't know if that's something to keep an eye on or not. Certainly on the best of one ladder, I'm seeing more Snarl Miraidon lately. And I might be just now at the point where I'm starting to learn to expect it. We'll see. Or at least to cover for it. Here's another Miraidon Ice Rider team. This one doesn't have Volcarona, but it does have Grimmsnarl. It's a different kind of hassle. There's Landorus too. That's hard to deal with. I feel like leading Shadow Rider is pretty strong here, though. I can kind of threaten a lot of their stuff immediately. Especially with Incineroar. The problem is, the reason I keep not bringing Incineroar to games is I want all 3 of Calyrex, Rayquaza, and Chien-Pao. They're my 2 restricteds, and Chien-Pao makes Rayquaza stronger just by being there. And then in this kind of matchup, I want Rillaboom to change the terrain. Rillaboom's not that good here, though, apart from changing the terrain. I think I am going to mix it up and bring Incineroar, Chien-Pao, Rayquaza. They lead Ice Rider, Calyrex, and Rapid Striker Shifu. I'll just Astral Barrage and knock off their Calyrex. They go Incineroar. I was a little bit worried about a Scarf for Shifu or something, but I don't have to worry about that immediately, at least. Don't love that I took Life Orb damage just to accomplish that. Kind of want to Terra Dark Calyrex here, anticipating that they won't fake out it, but what I think they might do is fake out my Incineroar and Trick Room. But I don't know, Astral Barrage damage could still come in handy in the long run, right? Terra Water. There's no fake out. So I get the knockoff into their Calyrex. Leftovers. Uh-oh, it's some Leech Seed stuff. They get their Trick Room. Okay. Not amazing. What I'm going to do here is protect my Calyrex and go for a Will-O-Wisp into their Calyrex, although it could switch out. Even then, catching Incineroar on the switch would be nice. They actually leave it in. It's burned, but it still has that Leech Seed pressure. They also have U-Turn Incineroar, just like that last opponent. So now that my Calyrex is a Dark type, it's in danger from that. I'm going to make a slightly risky switch to Rayquaza. And I'm going to click Parting Shot into their Calyrex. Even burned, I imagine Glacial Lance wrecks Rayquaza, but I didn't want to bring Chien-Pao in on a U-turn, or as it turns out, a Flare Blitz. They're spreading that Leech Seed, though. That's pretty irritating to deal with as well. But they don't have a Farigiraf, so I can now click Priority into their Calyrex if I want. I'm not sure I do want, because at half HP, I'm not sure how much that does for me, especially since it probably won't let me Sucker Punch it. Let's just go Incineroar, I think. And taunt their Calyrex so that it can't keep spreading Leech Seed. Go for Glacial Lance there, trying to hit Rayquaza. Doesn't do much to my Ice Resists. They do finally U-turn their Incineroar out. They'll be able to bring that back in and Intimidate. Here's their Urshifu. That's hard to deal with. But I'm gonna go for a Will-O-Wisp into it. It's much easier to deal with if I get that. And I'm just gonna Sucker Punch their Calyrex. Okay, they switch it out. That makes sense. It was really not well positioned to do much there. I do get the burn into Urshifu. That could be huge. Surging Strikes will still take out my Incineroar, but that comes just as Trick Room ends. I get Calyrex now. I can click Astral Barrage. Problem is the Incineroar with the U-turn, but I'm just going to go for it. I think Rayquaza might have been better there, but I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to go for an Icicle Crash into Incineroar and hope that this double up knocks it out, I suppose. It's not going to. I could flinch it. Yeah, that Urshifu is so much weaker now that it's burned. They click the U-turn into Chien-Pao. That's a really interesting choice. Shadow Rider survives when I didn't think it would, and all three of their Pokemon that I've seen are low now. Maybe it's under Scarf, Snarl, Miraidon, we'll see. But that Astral Barrage... The Astral Barrage puts out so much pressure now that I can do that and get a Swords Dance with Rayquaza pretty much for free. So the fact that they went for Chien-Pao there instead of Calyrex might have just changed the whole game here. You know what they can still do? They can Fake Out and Trick Room. But actually they can't, because I'll just attack Calyrex with both of my Pokemon. Fake Out goes into Rayquaza. But here's the Astral Barrage, 2 KOs, easy. Will we find out what their last one was? Nope, they forfeit. Must have been Miraidon, right? But probably not the same set as the last opponent. And this was largely a Calyrex win. Largely on the back of them U-turning Chien-Pao instead of Calyrex that one turn. But hey, Rayquaza helped to put out pressure at the end as well. Rayquaza can sit there and say, I helped. Zamazenta, Shadow Rider Calyrex, Rillaboom, Amoonguss, Chien-Pao, and Raging Bolt. Well, all their non-restricted Pokemon are a little bit squishy against Extreme Speed, but the same is not true if they're restricteds. I'm just going to lead Rayquaza Chien-Pao. Maybe I can pressure out a Terra from Calyrex. If they lead Zamazenta, I don't know. Zamazenta is just always hard for this team to deal with. Maybe I need the Terra Bug and Incineroar in the back to help with that. Maybe I need the Terra Bug and Incineroar in the lead. Because that can also pressure out a Terra from Calyrex potentially, and it can help deal with a Moongus. I still bring my Calyrex and Chien-Pao. Here's a game where I managed to get Incineroar. Yeah, Zamazenta, Raging Bolt. I want to Terra Bug immediately and Will-O-Wisp Zamazenta. It might be a little bit reckless. I'm also going to go for a Swords Dance immediately. We're just going to ball. I almost forgot to click the Terra Bug. Perfect, okay. Fair enough. That does give me a pretty free Swords Dance, though. And it's time to start attacking. I'm just going to keep Will-O-Wisping the Zamazenta, not let it try to get away with anything. I could like knock off anticipating a Shadow Rider switch in, but then that gives the Zamazenta a chance to mess with me. I don't really want that. I'm not sure that the Shadow Rider switch in is likely. Oh, well, that answers that. There goes my Rayquaza. Okay. Alright. Well, the good news is if it's Sash Shadow Rider, the burn damage broke the Sash. The bad news is it's probably a speed tie between my Calyrex and theirs. And I don't have the Dark Terra available. But I'm just going to gamble on it. I really like Shadow Rider Calyrex. I really enjoy Zamazenta Shadow Rider teams. This is the one downside that I've seen people complain about, and it's definitely true. You get into an annoying number of Shadow Rider speed ties. But either I'll win this or I won't. The speed tie, that is. That much is actually a 50-50. They also haven't used their Terra. They could Terra Dark. Oh well. There's their Chien-Pao. No Terra. They just protect. Makes sense. Now they're threatening Sucker Punch. That took a lot from that Astral Barrage, though. They also now know that I'm not running Scarf Shadow Rider. Let's see if I can burn the Chien-Pao. They're fighting. Okay. That's not crazy, but it's a little unusual. I haven't seen it in a while, is really all I mean. Got the burn. I'm just going to go for a Psychic into their Calyrex. This is probably the worst play I've made in a while, but let's see. Yeah, they just get knocked out by Sucker Punch. I didn't have a better idea in this position. I'm not going to end the video on that play, though. I'll do the send-off that I sometimes do in this series. One more game, and I'm leading Rayquaza no matter what. Huh, I wonder what their Chien-Pao went for. Oh, that answers that. Alright, GG to that opponent. What did I do this game? I just let the Raging Bolt Draco Meteor Rayquaza. I also thought about knocking off the Calyrex on the turn it switched in, but I didn't do it. I just clicked the Will-O-Wisp again. Oh well, that would have been a cool play. Alright, one more lead Rayquaza no matter what. Let's get a weather team. There haven't been any weather teams this video, have there? There's some video. Oh, well, this'll do. There's some videos where I'm running into Kyogre all the time, and then this one, go figure, not a single Kyogre or Groudon. But here's our Groudon. Oh, I said what I said. Incineroar is more threatening to these in Psychic Terrain than Chien-Pao because I don't have a non-priority Dark Attack on Chien-Pao. It's still fine. Sword of Ruin is good, and Icicle Crash. Alright, it's Incineroar. Or it's Urshifu. Urshifu I like for speed control. And Surging Strikes into a couple of these, although the Sun messes with that. This is supposed to be a physical spam team. We're bringing Urshifu, even though I actually think Incineroar is more sound here. They lead Lunala Fluttermane. That's not the easiest thing to deal with. The good news is they didn't lead in DD, so I'm going to Terra Normal Swords Dance and just try immediately to break the Shadow Shield. It's Terra Water Lunala. But I don't know that it will take a whole lot from this Icicle Crash. On the other hand, Meteor Beam. Okay, it's not taking anything from the Icicle Crash. On the other hand, it has switched off its Extreme Speed immunity. That's something. I'm gonna go Urshifu here. I can Surging Strike the Fluttermane while I start working on this Lunala. I could go Calyrex, but they could have Wide Guard. I don't know. A lot of Lunala have Wide Guard. I'm not confident that this one does, but yeah, that gets tricky in a hurry. And yeah, just getting that Fluttermane out of here feels like progress, although the Lunala is still extremely dangerous. The good news is... Alright, the good news was it took 45% from Extreme Speed with Shadow Shield intact. The bad news is... I don't have a Rayquaza anymore. I don't know where it went, but it's not here. Is there anything I can do? Urshifu is locked into Surging Strikes for the rest of the game. I don't have my Terra. They don't have Astral Barrage. I meant Wide Guard. They don't have Wide Guard, but also I was mistaken. They have Wide Guard. I could have just Psychicked the Koraidon. Maybe they'll let me get away with it now for some unfathomable reason. No. Alright. Not my best laddering session, but hey, the last one went on for a while. There are going to be ups and downs in a series like this. And I can't complain too much after how things went with Latias, especially knowing that, look, there's a reason Rayquaza doesn't have any tournament placements that I could find in this format. But hey, you get the right matchups. Swords Dance Extreme Speed stuff could go pretty crazy. It's not impossible. I just wouldn't rely on it to be a big threat in the meta right now. Glad I tried it though. It's a very fun concept. Maybe I'll keep Special Rayquaza in my back pocket for some other occasion. Although I can't think of what that would be. But you never know. I might not be done with Rayquaza yet, but for now, of course, it is time to move on to whatever legendary the wheel gives me next.